Hi, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Boon of Wireless Podcast, now part of Wirelo. Yes, Wirelo, revolutionizing the way businesses in the wireless industry connect, collaborate, and thrive. As a premier B2B marketplace, Wireless platform is designed to cater specifically to the needs of wireless store vendors in America. Go to wirelo.com to see what they offer and how they can help you. I am your host, Jon Horovitz, coming to you as always, high above the streets of Northern New Jersey at ANJ Media. Okay, I think this is our third podcast of the year, Andrew.
That's correct.
And we're still very positive on New Jersey. We'll have to see how the new administration here in New Jersey can benefit us so we don't have to go back to making some slanderous comments. I didn't say that about our wonderful state. Okay, let's get started. By the way, how are you, Andrew? All good?
I'm doing well, John.
What about this cold weather we're in right now?
I miss the heat.
We all do. Yeah, it's been crazy in many parts of the country, but it's just cold. All right. My guest today is a co-founder and CEO of Arcade, a venture-backed sales engagement platform driving performance for thousands of retail stores across North America. David Cherrie also serves as the marketing committee chairman for the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, where he champions economic development through entrepreneurship. Originally from Australia, and you'll know that when you hear him, David now lives in Dallas, Texas with his family. David is making his second appearance on the Boon of Wireless Podcast. So let's give a big welcome back to David Cherrie. David, it is great to see you again.
You too, John. Great to be back. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to see you. I know a lot of things have happened. You were on the podcast about 8 months ago, and at the end, we said we would have you back to talk about new developments and successes that you've seen in Arcade. What can you share with us?
Well, yeah, it feels like 8 months flew by, firstly, and I was there in the studio with you. So had a great time. Thank you for having me then. And I'm glad I was invited back. But yeah, we've had a interesting year. I think anytime you acquire a business and integrate technologies and teams and vision, I think it really it stretches you in all sorts of ways. But I'm really, really grateful that we've had a fabulous year, and we've got a wonderful team that we've put together. So far, so good. So we're still standing. I'll take that.
So you mentioned when you acquire a business, since last time you acquired Upduo to expand your AI sales training for the frontline retailer employees. Talk about first, for those who may not have seen your appearance last June, tell us a little bit about what Arcade does.
It's to engage the frontline associates around daily goals through gamification. And so really simply put, we created daily milestones that would help us achieve our overall goal. And then we gamified it. So we made it fun. We gave rewards. We made it competitive. We really powered their engagement for the frontline, driving that motivation on a daily basis. The acquisition of Upduo, as you mentioned, was, I think, something that we had identified that it was really critical for all frontline execution. And that's that the employees have the will to succeed, but also the skill to succeed. And I think wireless of all retail verticals is probably the most competitive and the most high velocity. So there's constantly changing products, priorities, and people. And as a result, making sure employees have the skills to succeed is really important. So that was really where we felt as we expanded Arcade and really responded to our core customer base in wireless retail, providing them a solution that would not only drive the motivation and will of their frontline, but also elevate the skill was paramount.
That's excellent recap. Thank you. I've talked about it before on the broadcast here. In the fall of 2025, T-Mobile made the decision to ask their customers who are walking into their brick and mortar stores to kind of self-serve. And that's kind of the opposite direction of what you just explained. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And do you have any data, I don't know if you do or not, on how that has been working with that?
I think there will be a case where there'll be some element of self-serve that gets introduced into all retail, actually. But I think at the core heart of a retail experience, if you think about it, it's a personal experience. It's an experience, if you will. And going onto a self-serve machine is about as impersonal as it gets. And it's something I can do on my phone. I can do it from my laptop. I can do it anywhere. One of the things that you notice about physical retail locations, especially like e-commerce businesses, right? These companies that have become unicorns, your Warby Parkers and Indochinos. These companies, they started e-commerce, but they hit this plateau. I want to say it's around a 250 to 300 million revenue mark where they have to start spreading into physical retail. Even Amazon's trying to do that right now. And so you have to ask yourself, why? Why in this digital age is it still important for physical retail? And I think it's because physical retail does create a different part of the buyer and customer experience that you can't replicate digitally. And at the core of that, it's people. And so I do believe that there is going to be some probably shrinkage in payroll around the front line in wireless, but I don't think it's going to be completely eradicated. And in fact, I think it's just going to be optimized. And it's going to be better for customers because it's going to make the jobs for those positions more enticing for the front line. That means they're going to hire better people. They're going to be able to train those people, make sure the customers have the best possible experience. And last thing I'll say, John, is I know that in a T-Mobile, say on their online store, I don't know what their conversion rate is, but I can guarantee it's a lot lower on their online store than it is in their physical stores. And why is that? Well, because as a consumer, I can easily click away from T-Mobile and I can go to Verizon or AT&T's website. Whereas when I'm physically in a T-Mobile store, I've traveled there, I've gotten out the car, I've trekked through the cold, I've managed not to slip on the ice, and I've gotten into the store. I'm now talking to somebody, hopefully that I trust has subject matter expertise. And there's a much higher likelihood that I'm going to make my purchase there versus actually leaving and going somewhere else. So all that to say, I think it's too early to say whether or not it's going to, exactly what's going to happen, but that's my prediction.
I tend to agree with you because if I go to my carrier's store, or I think if anybody goes into a brick and mortar store, they're going there for one or two reasons: to purchase a phone or upgrade a phone, or to have something fixed. And especially when you're porting, I mean, I don't know if people really trust that you can do this by yourself. I mean, we live it every day in our industry, but if you don't know how to port, if you don't know what your PIN is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you need some help. And it's not always available online, self-serve. So retail is not going away by any means, but the experience and the customer relationship with their brand, I think is always going to be there in a brick and mortar store, especially as the population ages. I like to touch something before I buy it. And then now this is a guy who now spends, half his day buying stuff on Amazon, but so goes my learning. Let's talk about AI. And I've said numerous times that I think a lot of people have AI exhaustion because before it came out, it was hyped. And then it came out, it was hyped. And, I'm a slow adapter myself to AI, but I realize I better figure this stuff out before it's too late. AI is here to stay, and what AI is doing in other industries. Spoke to a gentleman the other day that in the medical field, and he says that they're using AI now to look at your heart and other organs, and they can tell you what's going to happen to you in 3, 5, 10 years based on a lot of different factors, heredity, the lifestyle, et cetera. So it's not just, Chat GPT anymore. It's, AI is here. You have seen a lot of trends in AI for wireless and how it's being adopted on both sides of the marketing side. How is AI being received and adopted by the employees that you're targeting to do the training and the learning?
I think with every new technology, you sort of have this, this peak of excitement and then eventually this trough of disillusionment that people realize it can't do everything. We had that with gamification. When we first released Arcade, gamification was this big buzzword. And what companies felt was like, hey, we want to gamify everything. Well, very quickly they realized that just chucking a couple of points and badges onto something doesn't make it inherently engaging. And then full circle, it's now a lot of apps are gamified, but they're gamifying the right things. They're making it inherently engaging, and they're using gamification as a mechanic. And I think AI is in a similar position in the sense that AI doesn't replace 100% of everything, but what it does is 80% of the grunt work. And I think that that's really the trend I'm seeing in wireless, where wireless retailers are looking at what's the 80-20 rule? Where do we really need our employees and the people part to be excellent? And then can we offset and offload everything else that they do to AI or technology so that the people side of the business can be absolutely excellent? Because as we just said, that is the differentiator. That's the reason why you're going to travel to a physical shop, is for an experience. And so in a physical retail space, really it has been offline for a long time. And so as it becomes more and more online, and as AI is just inherently a part of that, I think that there is a little bit of resistance, but very quickly people see the value. And last thing I'll say is I think, at least in my experience, and I guess this is anecdotal, but employees really do, I think in my opinion, a good chunk of them really do want to do well at work. The challenge is that they don't have all the support they need. And for the retailer, it's like, look, they've got lots and lots of locations. They've got people they have to manage, products they have to manage, customers they have to manage. Making sure that those employees get the best possible coaching and development and training is really, really expensive and really, really difficult. And with AI, I think it can really do that for retailers. And I think employees really appreciate that, because that helps them inherently get better at their job, helps them earn more, and I think helps them develop and progress. So as it becomes more and more commonplace, I see it, becoming more and more comfortable for the retailers.
I know that you track your analytics, and in your marketing materials and website, you talk about the increases in close rate, in revenue, new sales, et cetera. What are some of the results so far? And has it changed, speaking about how they are now adopting AI, has it changed any of the traditional retail roles?
I was incredibly impressed at how much of a difference it's made. So we have seen so far an increase in conversion. So typically with when we're talking retail, you work within a metric and you're working with certain like SKUs because you're trying to hone in what's the direct impact. And there's so many different things that impact retail. They might just have a really good weather day or a really bad weather day, or the manager just didn't turn up and whatever, right? So it's sometimes hard to really validate the value of something. What we've found though with so far with the AI training is it has actually made a considerable difference to the tune of a 30+% increase in conversion, which is the retailer like ultimate metric, right? That means that a retailer that was selling 100 activations a month is now selling 130. And that's material impact to their business. Of course, that goes to show what is being left on the table for most retailers. And so what I would say is, I would say the best-in-class stores that I see are doing all the right things already, but AI is now helping them do more of that. And so when you ask, like, what are the roles that have changed? I think the roles that have changed are the middle management in the field. So the folks, especially at the district level, that are typically required to coach the store manager, coach the coach, or in prepaid, they're usually the managers themselves of the stores. And they're also in charge of driving sales performance. Well, they don't have they can't be everywhere all at once talking and supporting every rep, whereas AI can be. So I think what it's doing is it's now providing those district managers a much more concise way of managing their areas and their people, and that is what's driving the increase in conversion. So to summarize, I think AI is both helping the rep get real-time feedback and train better, and it's helping the district manager lead better. And so it's that combination that I think is really what's driving some of the really impressive results so far.
If you were to approach a retailer for the first time to talk about arcade and AI, what are some of the low-hanging fruits that you've uncovered where AI might improve the store's efficiency and performance?
Some of the low-hanging fruits are just using the data you have to start getting more intelligent insights around operations. For retailers, a lot of this stuff is free. A lot of this stuff is incredibly accessible now, so you don't need to be an engineer to use it. But just going, okay, if we want to get our staffing better, this is something we can do. The other thing is, think about your employees, not just as frontline salespeople that don't have much experience. Think about them, especially the younger ones, as employees that have literally grown up with technology and probably weren't even, old enough to drive when AI first came out. So they've spent many years probably getting to know AI, getting comfortable. Maybe you've got somebody in your store, they're on an hourly wage and they're not a great salesperson just yet, but maybe they're really good at technology. And so thinking about your business, not just as how do I build the best sales core, but maybe you've got some hidden gems there in your personnel workforce that you could elevate and say, hey, Johnny or Jenny, I'd love for you to really spend half of your days or your the times the store's quiet actually working on some of these AI ideas that I have. And I think you can move pretty quickly. So instead of hiring more people, look within.
So you mentioned free tools that are out there. Have you seen retailers approaching their software expenditure more from innovate internally or to purchase something? Like, I'm assuming a purchase would be like to engage with arcade.
I think it's great for retailers, actually. And I do think that ultimately, when it comes to the build versus buy conversation, it really comes down to the team. I'm like, are we purchasing software from a vendor that actually knows AI and actually has a roadmap that we believe they can execute on? Because a lot of vendors, are, they were built a long time ago, and they are trying to retrofit AI into their systems, but they weren't built with AI in mind. I will say, just as a shameless plug, that was a huge decisive factor in the acquisition we made, because the technology that we acquired had literally been built from the ground up with AI in mind. And I think that is incredibly important, and it kind of goes under the radar. So I think a lot of retailers are going to have a lot of interesting conversations with their software vendors. And I'm excited to, I'm excited to be a part of that and really work to justify the value that we bring. But ultimately, I think it's a great thing for retailers in general.
So if I take everything what you've said about AI and innovation, whether it's going to be a buy versus build, et cetera, is the retailer who is not embracing AI, and this is probably an easy question to ask, is that retailer who's not embracing AI hurting themselves? So they're at a disadvantage versus their competition?
I think it's obvious, of course, they're at a disadvantage. I was like you. I think there's this inherent skepticism. I think it felt very gimmicky at the start. It's like, wow, this thing can make photos look funny, and it can, you make great social media content, but can it actually solve real world problems for us? I think that ultimately every company, whether you're a retailer or not, frankly, if you aren't, and it doesn't mean that you need to be like creating technology. Like, we're working on AI technology. But that's not what companies need to be doing. They just simply need to be leveraging AI, the 80-20 rule. What is the 20% that is the most important for the people we have to be focused on? And whatever that is for your business, because at the end of the day, AI is not going to replace people, and people ultimately don't want to be sold by an AI, and they want social relationships that are meaningful, and that comes down to how they live, but also how they want to buy. And so ultimately, it comes down to what's the 20% that is most critical for the people we employ to be focused on, and then the 80% of everything else. How can we use AI to help offset that? And so, regardless of the business, that's something that you should be focused on. Otherwise, I think it will be very difficult, because frankly, you're going to have your people, your most invaluable asset as a business, focusing their time on 80% of their time on stuff they shouldn't be.
You have put this into play. This is not a plan. This is currently happening right now in hundreds of retailers. Let's talk about the success rates of those who are actively using Arcade as part of their training versus those who are not. Can you give us some examples of like what type of increases in certain KPIs you've seen?
I'd say the first most critical metric that we've seen are markets growing by upwards of 33% of sales conversion. So that means that they're converting a third more customers that walk through the door. So that's been, I think, a huge one. Isolating down to specific products and promos as well. So one of the biggest challenges retailers have is what we call the promo lag. It's when you have a new promotion or a new product. We were talking to one retailer recently that had a new fiber internet product that they're trying to get into a certain market. And the reps have never sold it before. They don't know nothing about how to sell it, how to pitch it. The longer those reps take to get confident and equipped and competent to actually execute the sale, the more that retailer is losing. So there's an opportunity cost. And so we're shortening that lag. So we've seen in some retail cases, shortening that lag from 4 to 6 weeks to 4 to 5 days. And so I think that is a huge increase in productivity. And then lastly, down to specific SKUs and metrics, we recently did a national incentive across a carrier. So you're talking thousands and thousands of locations with a large manufacturer, and they saw over 2.5 times more sales made by reps that had actually gone through the training in Arcade and engaged in Arcade than the reps that were selling without that. And so you're talking a 2.5 times increase in focus and productivity around the specific product that we were pushing at the time. And I think that just goes to show it's simple. If employees are motivated, if employees are aware, and if employees are actually confident and equipped to sell products, they will. And they'll sell them better than employees who either aren't motivated, aren't aware, aren't equipped, or aren't confident. And so I think as a retailer, one of the things we try to help them do is we have this thing called a sales readiness score. And that is, hey, for whatever promotion you want to run, you can see exactly how sales ready every single rep is in your organization. And you can see how sales ready every region is, every store is. And if you can get your reps more sales ready, they will sell more. And so that's really our MO. And I think that's been what's been received well from retailers.
That's a great way to end today. And I'll quote what you said earlier, that the employee has to have the will and the skill to succeed. And I think that that's something that during the onboarding or the interview process that managers need to look at. Is this person going to embrace something new? Are they going to dedicate themselves to learning, et cetera, et cetera? All good stuff. So I'm sold. I was sold a couple years ago on your product and service. How do I contact Arcade if I watch this or listen to it and say, hey, this is for me? Everything that we discussed, I need to implement in my stores now. How do I contact?
So you can contact us at arcade.co, that's .co, and just schedule a free, we call it demo, but it's just a free call and consultation with one of our team to really understand your business. We'll do a sales readiness survey with you. We've done this survey with retailers, so we can actually benchmark you across thousands of stores. And really, that's you just being honest about your business. We don't have any, we don't run your stores, so you be honest about your business. But we'll benchmark you kind of where you're at, and then we'll help diagnose. And I'm a huge believer. We don't have to bite off the whole thing right away. We start with what's the high impact thing, the low hanging fruit that we can help with, and then we'll work together on that. So if you're interested to learn more about specifically what we do, then we'd love to help, and you can find us at arcade.co.
Okay. Terrific. Well, I want to thank you, David, and the team that I work with at Arcade for taking time out today to spend these magical moments on the podcast, and looking forward to more good things coming out of Arcade. So David Cherrie, thank you very much. Enjoy this cold snap you're having down in Texas. Welcome to our world. Okay.
Thank you, John. Cheers.
All right. So to all those folks, Mobile World Congress, Barcelona, just a couple weeks away. I hope everybody that's planning on attending has safe travels and has very fruitful meetings and comes home with a lot of new business. So that is going to wrap up another episode of the Boon of Wireless podcast. And as always, we'll see you next time. Do you want to be a guest on the Boon of Wireless podcast? Give us a call at 908-THE-BOON. Yes, 908-843-2666.